All right, all right, all right. Okay, looks like we're live, guys. Well, listen, I'm very excited about today's panel. And if you want to know what you need to know to attract and retain nurses, especially at the bedside, you're in the right place. So I'm glad you're here on Thursday Roundtable, live with Rollis. I have a great lineup of guests here. I'm going to announce you guys from the top to the left and then down to Dr. Z. And those of you who are actually just now signing in, let us know where you're signing in from, what city, what state, what country. Let us know where you are in the spectrum. Are you in the spectrum of a hiring manager looking for nurses? Are you a nurse looking to level up in your career? Are you an aspiring nurse? We love to hear all of that. We love to hear your questions, your comments as we go through this discussion. But first of all, I want to welcome Melissa Cortez, former bedside nurse, but now an entrepreneur. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. And then we also have Miss Rashida Charles, also a bedside nurse working on her PhD, right, in nursing. Is that right? All right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And then we also have Dr. Reezena Malaska at the bottom. She's currently serving as a bedside nurse, but has also been a professor teaching other nurses at a university. So thank you very much for being on the show. Dr. Z.
Hi, I'm excited to be on the show here. Yeah.
Okay, we have.
Yes, I'm functioning as a bedside nurse. I worked last night.
Well, yeah, that's pretty functioning.
I worked last night and I'm going to work tonight again. So do I look all right?
You look great. Okay, so I got to give you this for, you worked last night, you got to work tonight, so you deserve it. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, all right, so let's get going. One of the things that we want to know first, let's talk about the attraction piece. Every hospital in the country is short of nurses. They're trying to bring in more nurses. We know that COVID is going to start to continue to slow down with the vaccinations and everything, but it's still busy, right? So still lots of needs. And we had needs before COVID. So what are some things that we can talk about in terms of what are practical things that organizations can do right now to attract more nurses? So Melissa, you want to get us started on that?
Sure. So just a little bit about me. So after my crisis assignments, I decided that we needed to create a solution for these nurses. And I saw this profession that I love just become something that wasn't even, describable to other people anymore. So one of the things that I've made kind of one of the pillars of our company at Cortex is how do we enhance resiliency in nurses. And I think that's a big piece of keeping a nurse, or even showing that you're an organization that really invests in your employees and invests in the nurse. So I think one of the things is having a really robust wellness program. And right now your wellness nurses are really busy giving vaccines and, COVID testing, and they are just like, really overwhelmed. So one of the things is there's lots of people out there that are doing that, but you can kind of revamp your wellness program by bringing it into the hospital. So a lot of times it's like you have to walk across a parking lot and go over there and talk to this person or get resources from over there. But if you can bring them into the bedside, or bring them close to the nurse, that's a really great way. And I have some tips and tools to do that, and we can kind of get into those. But and some free giveaways from us for the people that are listening.
Well, that sounds great. Now you said, I'm going to follow back up on this. You said bring them close to the nurse. Would you suggest using video at all in that process?
Oh yeah. Okay. We're big proponents of video. That's one of the things that makes us unique, is that we have this short, concise, really engaging video content. I mean, TikTok, Instagram, all your social, but it should be more than just like, we're the best place to work. This is where you want to be, because a lot of people have the same problems no matter where you go. It's more about, we're invested in you, because I think a lot of hospitals, the product seems like it's the patient, but really your product is your nurse. Your product is your staff. And once you kind of understand that and you start investing in your people, you create that culture change. And one of the ways to do that is really invest in their wellness holistically.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's great, and that's what we do a lot with clients. We'll definitely get them some video content that kind of really puts their organization in a light that is going to be more attractive to the nurse. And that's why we love talking to folks like you who can kind of give us clues on what things we should have in those videos to help attract those nurses. Rashida, what would you like to add to that? What are some things that organizations can do to help attract more bedside nurses to their organization?
So, two things. The first one, of course, is salary. I think it's a very timely conversation too, not just because of COVID and the increase in rate, but also, they've been discussing minimum wage, and minimum wage hasn't moved in God knows how long, and nursing salaries honestly haven't moved much either. And I think it's because it's a female dominated field. But instead of learning to advocate for ourselves, or like schools teaching us how to negotiate, they tell us don't bother negotiating, everyone gets the same thing, which isn't true because I negotiated my first salary and I got an increase in pay. So that's one. And then the second thing would be increasing diversity. I think there's a lot of talk about diversity and inclusion, but there's not a lot of talk about how to hold organizations accountable for that. And for me, I think now working in COVID float pools, there's a lot of diversity. Everyone's stepping up to the front lines, and it's been an amazing experience. Despite being so stressful, I felt like at home. Like I finally feel like I have a work family, and I didn't feel that before when I was one of 4 Black nurses on my unit. So those are the two things on my end.
Now you said one of 4 Black nurses on your unit. How many were in your unit roughly?
That's a lot.
I know, right? Like it was booming. We probably had like maybe 20 something nurses on my unit. And yes, that's considered a lot to have 4. When I walked in and saw even 1, my manager was Black too. I was like, oh wow, like I have a Black manager. And that's unusual for a step down unit too, because usually the more diverse units would be psych and med surg. So for a step down, then when you get to the ICU, forget about it. But
right.
I've spoken to people about that before, and they'll say nurses don't apply. And I think that that's incorrect. Like we spoke before, I have a large platform on Clubhouse for nurses of color. And 2 of the big things that come up a lot are how difficult it is to get a job that's not med surg or emergency room or psych as a nurse of color. And then the second one is lateral violence. So I guess we'll talk more about that when it comes to retaining nurses, but I think there needs to be more accountability when it comes to diversity and inclusion, not just saying it because it sounds pretty. Let's just actually do the work and hold organizations accountable for doing it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
and there's
powerful.
Actually, there's a company out there that I know about called Equilibrium Healthcare, and they have a I'm talking robust diversity and inclusion program, because they do it based on personality. So now you take away whatever that person looks like. You're not trying to, and even the patients, you can start to use personality, and then they teach you how to communicate and relate to that. So I encourage anybody who is wanting to do the diversity inclusion and really integrate that in your organization, please check out Equilibrium Healthcare, and I'd be happy to make an introduction for anyone.
Excellent. So Dr. Z, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, before we can even start to think about retaining nurses, we have to look at what the problems are. This has been my biggest beef, and that's bullying, incivility, lateral violence, the toxicity in the work environment. We have to identify it, and we have to be honest when we're doing it. Once you identify it, you have to do something about it. Pushing it aside, pushing it under the rug, listening to your people, your nurses. Why do you think nurses are leaving in droves? They come in the front door and they go through the back door, basically. They get their experience and they move on, So until organizations in this country and even across the world make that recognition and be honest and authentic about it, recognize it and take steps to do something about it, we're not going to retain nurses. We're just going to go round and round in circles like we have been. One of the things that is common is those of us that get bullied, they we're targeted, right? And so you stop speaking out, or or you leave, or you do whatever. Every nurse in this country, every nurse in this world wants a really good, productive, positive environment to work in. You've seen it on the CNO roundtable. You've seen that. The CNOs you've had, they talk about it. It doesn't just exist at the bedside. It's in leadership and management, which is why I will not take a leadership job to save my life. I've been there, done that, right? So people like me, when your nurses are speaking up and speaking out, you need to listen to them authentically, like truly listen and do something about it, right? Don't just ignore them, because the problems are not going to go away. These problems were there before the pandemic, and more than ever, it's being highlighted right now. We have a voice. That's why I worked last night. I got up, I made myself look presentable. When I'm done with the show, I'm going to roll back into bed and sleep, hopefully for 2 hours. If I don't sleep, I'll lay there and rest. But I'm very passionate about it. We need to have a therapeutic, healthy work environment to work in. By the way, bullying, incivility, lateral violence is not only in bedside nursing or in a hospital or nursing homes or wherever. It's also in academia. It is huge in academia.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I've quit teaching, because you just get fed up.
So let me ask
Dr. Z, can I ask a question, Rollis?
Please, go ahead.
So Dr. Z, do you have any solutions for that? I know I have a whole gamut, but what are some, I guess, quick things that people could?
There is no quick things. You have to change the culture. When you change that culture, it starts with, nurses don't work in silos, right? Mm-hmm. It's teamwork. You have to change the team culture, the unit culture, the organizational culture. You're right, Melissa. They say all these wonderful things. I get them. I've been getting emails up the yin yang about all these organizations that are having open house and virtual open house and call and talk to recruiters. We're going to offer you this money. It's not about the money anymore.
No, it's not.
It is about your boss. It is about who is your nurse leader? Who is your CNO? What are they like? What are their behaviors like? I've gotten to the point now where I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to shut up. I will continue speaking out and speak my truth. As a matter of fact, my next book, is going to be about the experiences in this country that I've experienced in 24 years of nursing. Why am I back at the bedside? Yeah. Why are many of us back at the bedside? There's many. I've come across so many ex-managers and directors who are back at the bedside working COVID contracts. Why?
Yeah, I think it's something that we're not taught leadership skills, and we're not taught communication skills in nursing school. They're starting to integrate it now. But one of the things that we focus on is really teaching a nurse that the only thing that you can do is choose how to respond to your environment. You can't control anybody else. And once you learn that your space is your space, and you begin to initiate boundaries essentially, and your management supports you to say, okay, that interaction happened. How do we enhance communication or allow it to work better? And it really, I think, happens in day-to-day interactions between the staff, and having a supportive, like you said, a CNO or a manager that creates a supportive environment for those healthy communication to occur.
But it goes beyond that. You have to have the buy-in of all people who are in these C. You have to have the buy-in of the C-suite leaders. You have to have HR there. HR says we have zero tolerance, and you get on that critical care unit. Where do you have the biggest bullies? In places like the critical care units, in places like the OR. It's in places like PACU.
And it's because we're burnt out. So I'm a critical care nurse, and I'll tell you that
it's not just burnout alone. It's basically attitudes and behaviors. How do we get change? Well, it's our behavior.
Let's do this.
I can change me. I can change me, but the organization has to. Go ahead, Rollis.
Well, I was saying that just so, because we only have an hour, I want to make sure we get through some actionable items for folks who are watching, because they want actionable items that we can actually use. We could probably spend 10 hours talking about it, but what I'd like to do is just kind of let's get to a couple of solutions, and then what we'll do is we'll just kind of give each of you guys an opportunity to present your solution or what you think would be good. And it's not that I don't want to discuss the problem. Just I think we'll end up running out of time. And I also want to just recognize a few folks who are coming on the comments. Thank you, Ken Borman. He's coming in from Phoenix. We've got Carrie Ann from Massachusetts. Welcome. And I see Barry Hawthorne coming in from DC on COVID effort for Indianapolis. So welcome to all of you.
Yay.
Awesome. Okay. So Rashida, you've been quiet for a little while. What's your top solution? If you were looking for a position right now, let's say you're on job boards or whatever you would normally do to look for a job, what's one of the first things you look for when you're looking at that opportunity for the first time?
I personally look at money. Like, that's the first thing I look at when I'm looking for a job. Even when I'm not I work in a PRN float pool, but I also do travel nursing, and my recruiter knows, like, okay, let me tell you what's offering the most money, like how many hours it requires, and then we get into everything else. But that's the top thing that I'm looking at, mostly because nursing school was so expensive. So.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you say money, I just want to drill down on that for a little bit. So, are you talking about when you first look at the position, you're looking at, let's say, the hourly rate? Is that what you're looking at first? Maybe shift differentials? Like what information just needs to be on the job posting to give you the best opportunity to make a decision as it relates to money?
So when I was looking for full-time positions, first of all, they're not transparent about money, which is intentional and I don't like. But with the travel nurse rates, because they're so competitive, I don't know if it's because of COVID or what it is, but it usually shows you, and it shows you how much you would have to work. So if it says you're going to make $10K a week, but you work 6 days, I'm not doing that. But I look at that, and then for travel nursing, there's a blended rate. So there's like non-tax and then tax. So I look at that too and figure out what's going to give me the best bang for my buck. And then I don't sign long contracts either. So even if like the work environment doesn't end up being ideal, which usually travel nursing, it's usually not, then I'm only there for a month tops anyway. So that's why if I was looking for more long-term, right, I would be looking for other things. But because I'm looking for short-term contracts right now, since I'm in school, the salary is the most important thing.
So, okay, but what if it is long-term? What if it's a full-time job? Do you still look at compensation first? What's the first thing you look at?
So the first thing I would look at is the hospital system, because I think, different people have different preferences on where they want to work. I'm earlier in my career, so I'm looking at what can help push my career forward. So the first hospital system that I worked at was not the highest paying one. It was actually the lowest paying one, but it had a big name. So I went with that. So that's the first thing that I look at, is the reputation of the hospital. And usually that has to do, the resources go along with it. So I worked at a small community hospital doing travel assignment, and the resources weren't at what I am used to. Right. So that's something that I want as well. So I'd want somewhere that has a lot of resources and that has a good reputation when I'm looking at it on paper. Once I get into the hospital system, in terms of interviewing and shadowing, there's other little things that I look at.
Okay. Yeah. So Dr. Reezena, what's the first thing you look at when you're looking at a full-time, let's say you're looking for a full-time position right now. What's the first thing that you notice about a position?
Well, what depends on what they're advertising. You look at the culture, you look at what's going on with the unit. Is there a high turnover? Pay matters. I mean, when you think I've been in nursing almost 35 years and I'm making the same pay as a nurse who's come into critical care, they've only been a nurse for a year and they're making the same as I am. There's something wrong with that. So I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for a combination of things, right? A good pay package, a supportive environment. We need young nurses. We have, those of us we're getting older. You should have a blend of nurses, but you should have that support there, educational support. When you talk about recruitment and retention, you have to have something that's going to attract new nurses that will make them want to stay. So It's a combination of many different things, probably a combination of what all three of us have been talking about, right?
Okay.
That's how you're going to keep your nurses. And then say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yes.
Authenticity.
And we're going to,
it's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So it's really a combination of things. It boils down to behaviors and culture, with a good pay package and, something for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to move to retention in the latter half of our show. I just wanted to try and make sure we catch the attraction piece on the first half. So how about you, Melissa? What was one of the first things that you looked at when you're looking for a full-time position? What was one of the first things you paid attention to when looking at a new opportunity or evaluating a new opportunity for the first time?
Yeah. So I have been a nurse for 10 years and we're active duty military. So we move around a lot, which traveling has been great for me, but I've also usually kept 1 or 2 PRN jobs. So I do look at local systems that are not paying, like down here in North Carolina, I've worked for like $26 an hour. So, but I enjoyed the culture. And so you don't know what culture looks like right from a job posting. You have no idea. So I would, encourage people to be authentic. Don't say that you're something that you aren't. And when you're interviewing someone, say you're in that first phone call, right? And they are asking questions like Dr. Z or Rashida, and they're asking, you have an experienced nurse, right? Because that's really what we want to get to even out that new nurse to experienced nurse ratio. So I think when they ask those tough questions, be authentic about it, but then also be like, but we foster a place for solution. Like we want to move towards a solution of that. Would you want to be part of the solution? Because if you look at personality type of a nurse, they're fixers. We want to fix. So if you offer that nurse an opportunity to be part of your organization and to shift the things that you're not meeting those particular measures or metrics, and you offer them something, a project, something that they can get involved in, they're going to be more adept to take on that if they really feel like you're supportive. And you can't just say it up front. You have to make sure you have the backing. And as a manager, it's very difficult, hiring manager, because you're operating in this little box. You have to say yes to the top and yes to the bottom. So don't promise a yes to the bottom if you haven't gotten your yes from the top. Sometimes we have to be creative in that environment of how we can create change. But so I would really be authentic about your lackings. I don't think they're barriers. I think that you have the potential to improve them. And then offer that nurse an opportunity to be part of it, because once you include them, they feel like they've got something vested in the organization.
I love that. That's great. Okay, so we got some comments that came in. Ken Berman said, "Good to be here. I'm having my eyes opened to a problem that I had no clue that this is so pervasive." So thank you, all of you ladies, for bringing this to light. We also have Dr. Lisa Lewis coming in from Philadelphia, and Leilani Patashel. Sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly. She's coming in from San Francisco, which is great. So we have the West Coast here. Oh, we have Kizzy from the East Coast in Florida. She's here with us. Welcome, Kizzy. And we have someone, I can't see who it is. They're saying support matters, which thank you for that. It's so true. Now, let me ask you this. If you go to a posting, for example, and the posting is kind of like the normal kind of copy paste, job duties, must lift 30 pounds, able to administer, and, blah, 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 blah.
No.
What's your first reaction to that? Because most postings are still like that.
They are, but you got nurses that are volunteering to work in COVID. Okay. So first of all, they're brave. All right. And they don't have time for a BS. So put it out there, make it engaging, offer things that you really want. What makes your organization stand out? And if you don't have something that makes your organization stand out, you've got tons of people such as Rashida or Dr. Z or me that would be happy to probably help you facilitate that. So reach out to those that have that are doing it, that are in there, and say, is this something that makes me unique?
Yeah. What do you think, Dr. Z? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's exactly like what Melissa and Rashida and I've been talking about. Is you look at what they've written, and basically you can get a sense of what the organization is like. You shouldn't just be intimidated by what they're asking you. If you choose your questions and you frame it carefully, what is your unit like? How are they with new people? Have you had a lot of turnover? If you were to offer me this job, what would you expect of me? What are things that I can get involved in? You have to be careful with how you ask the questions, right? And there are a lot of resources out there that, with questions in a job interview, the different types of jobs that ask you that. Do you have an educator? If I'm a new nurse, I'm interested in knowing what kind of program you have to support me in my learning, because now I've been on both sides of the fence. I've, been a bedside nurse. I became a critical care educator. And then I became along the way a professor teaching, the associate degree, the bachelor's degree, the doctoral degree recently. So I know at first, when I first moved to the United States 24 years ago, I had no idea why brand new nurses were having such a difficult time integrating, right? When I became a clinical instructor, professor, then I understood. Mm-hmm. So I had both sides of the gamut. So as an educator, I'm able to meet those needs, but I go beyond that. I go beyond just the critical care education. It's mentor coaching, the whole works.
Yes.
So, okay. So here's a real life situation, because I'm a recruiter. I've been in this game a long time, and I can tell you most postings are not going to tell you about probably 90% of the information that you guys just talked about. It's just going to be a copy paste. This department, this shift, here's the duties. That's it. So my question to you is, and I'll start off with you, Rashida. If you are on, let's say, Indeed or Glassdoor or wherever you look for jobs. By the way, where do you look for jobs? If you were to look for a job right now, where would you go?
Now I'm looking on LinkedIn because everyone raised my LinkedIn. I used to look at LinkedIn before nursing. You're right. But for some reason, nursing, it's not big. I would also look at, I do use Indeed.
Okay.
I use Glassdoor to see if I can find salaries.
What was the last one? What was you say after Indeed? What did you say?
I use Glassdoor just to see if I can find the salary, but I usually don't apply there. And and then the hospital's website.
Okay. This is incredibly helpful, what you just said.
Yeah. The hospital's website.
So you looked at Indeed first. You follow up to check out salaries on Glassdoor.
I look at the hospital's website. Like if I have hospitals in mind that I would like to work at, then I'll look at their website first. Then I'll look at Indeed.
Yep.
But that's only a hospital you're aware of or know of, right? But what if you're just like doing a search? If you're doing a national search, you're not going to know 6,000 hospitals.
Exactly. Right? And that's where the Indeed comes in. Sometimes I'll use Google Jobs too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay. So those of you who are watching, pay close attention to this, how you're doing your jobs, right? So Indeed is still, that's the number one job site out there is Indeed. Okay. And so the jobs are automatically being pulled into Indeed. They're being aggregated into that platform. Okay. So you're looking on Indeed, but you said you also went to Glassdoor. By the way, Indeed and Glassdoor are owned by the same company, by the way. So you go over to Glassdoor and you say you don't apply there, but you just check the salaries. Is that right?
And like the reviews.
And the reviews.
Because sometimes they'll have Indeed. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So and Indeed has reviews too, but do you think Glassdoor has better reviews?
Usually have more.
Okay. All right. This is very helpful. Okay. And then you say you go to the website of the organization. This is before you apply?
Yeah, because you have to apply in two places essentially, because Indeed always takes you to the hospital website and you have to fill out, travelers are our list of, you're going to have a lot of people that have come out of traveling now and are looking for staff positions because they're ready. They're done. I worked for $10K a week. No amount of money is going to make me stay anywhere anymore. Okay. So we're coming to staff positions. I just looked at some today.
Okay.
And, you know, we don't want to have to fill out an application twice. If I have a beautifully typed resume, don't make me do that twice, because guess what I'm doing? Click, exit, I'm done.
That is so important.
You get that for that.
That's one of the things that really turns me off is
Yes.
the lengthy application that you fill out, even though you've got a beautiful resume, right? And these applications from the hospital, they're not easy, and they take a long time.
Yep, done.
Okay, that's good. This is very, so you're helping folks out. We preach this stuff all the time, but it's coming from us, right? It's not coming from, so this is coming from you, the actual people that we're targeting. Okay, so I have many more questions. We're going to get to retention in a little bit.
What about, I want to answer Barry's question.
Answer Barry.
Barry's
let me see. Where's Barry's question at? Oh,
so he said, my best recruiter is always a bedside nurse working in a hospital, but sadly, organizations cannot afford to be the best paid and best supported. False. We need to have a conversation, Barry.
Okay, so
Barry.
let's go down this track here, and I'm gonna get to the comments here in a second. So I'm just following a track. So you went Indeed first, Glassdoor to check out salaries, and then you went to the website of the career site. And so do you bother to go back to Indeed to apply, or do you just stay on the career site and apply there and make a decision to apply there?
You're better off to stay on the hospital website and apply, because they're going to redirect you there anyway, even if you do apply on Indeed. The other thing is to say to support what Rashida is saying. Sometimes when you go to the hospital website, they have nice little videos of their own employees talking about how long they've been there, what it's like. Word of mouth is also big. One of the things that I've enjoyed being a traveler, even when I was doing contract, interim leadership contract as a critical care educator in California, is talking to people, the people that you meet, other travelers. You meet a ton of people. Melissa, I used to be a military wife as well. U.S. Air Force. That's been my whole life, which is why my resume is about this long.
Me too.
Right? We had no choice. You can't cut the resume down. This is why I hear you so much about, the application process, because how do you put all that in there?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't. Thank you for your service, Dr. Z.
So let me go back to the comments here for a second. Those are great. That's great, Dr. Z. Carl says, stopping by, Rollis, great conversation. Thank you for coming by, Carl. And we have Barry Hawthorne, who says, as a CNO for many years, now temporarily back to the bedside, by the way. He's at the bedside.
Sweet.
It seems to boil down to a few key things: leadership effectiveness to drive a supportive culture, 2, workload of bedside nurses, 3, show investment with fair pay, but wrap around other dollars that support a nurse voice of the nurse and governance, having a relationship with a coach or counselor that reaches into the person of the nurse, high communication, currently high use of travel nurses.
Trained coaches, not
trained.
just the nurse that's been there for a while. You got to train them on how to coach somebody, because not everybody knows how to do that. Okay.
And then
also when you're bringing in new nurses and you're putting them through orientation, after they've completed orientation, you should give them somebody that they can turn to who could be a mentor, right? Because they need that coaching. They need that support beyond orientation.
Yes.
Yeah, he says currently high use of travel nurses at high rates of pay diminishes an organization's financial ability to provide those services. I could speak for hours. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Let's talk, because I'm going to give you guys a list of 5 things you can do that are free.
Okay. Give me 5 things we can do that are free. I want to hear them.
Okay. So, all right. So the first thing we talk about in Cortex, right, is creating this environment of holistic wellness. How do you prove to a nurse that you really give a crap? Okay. Because pay isn't enough anymore. I mean, Rashida, because she's new, she's trying to pay off school. Okay. But for the rest of us that have been around for a while, we ain't looking for pay no more. And that's who you want. So, and then we look at, how can I support my family at home? How can I support my career? How can I support my elderly parent? You've got, how do I supply my energy? And you can do that as an organization. So the first thing we talk about is food. Stop giving them pizza. Stop having a cafeteria full of trash for them to quickly grab and go eat, right? Because if we're trying to fuel them and make their bodies work better, and say that we support you in your health and you want your nurse to be a pinnacle of health for your patient, then why are you going to feed them like that? So what about all the food that the cafeteria throws out at the end of the day or the end of the week? You've got fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. What if we had smoothie recipes and you froze it, you put it up there? Our company partner with BlendJet. We can get you a couple BlendJets, these awesome things, put in the break room. Nurses can use the extra fruit and vegetables, make themselves a smoothie that you provide for them. You put a sticker on there. I appreciate you. How much does that really cost you? And then you're saving money from throwing out food. And one of our collaborators, Knock, has a nutrition program, and they are a specific leadership program for nurse leaders that we have through them that you can check out. But we're going to give you free recipes and for you guys to use from leftover, quote unquote, leftover food.
I like that.
You could produce those little recipes. So you can find those on our website as of Friday. All this stuff will be up for you guys. So second thing, stretching. So if you go into the supply room,
wait, before you go to the second thing, what website do they need to go to? We'll drop it in the links, and then give us.
Cortex.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
It's cortexenergysystems.org.
Okay, cortexenergysystems.org. Okay, very good. So Joanne will put that in the comments. Now, before you go to number 2, I just want to see how that falls on the rest of our panel. So Rashida, Dr. Z, did that resonate with you? What she was saying about the snacks and all that, kind of changing them up? How does that fall?
I went to work last night and there was boxes of pizza in the break room.
Okay, so see, real life, it's hitting it. What about you, Rashida?
So first, I forgot to say shout out to Dr. Lewis. That's my mentor and advisor.
All right. Okay, we're gonna give Dr. Lewis applause for being here and being a real advisor. Here we go. There we go. That's for Dr. Lewis. All right, go ahead, Rashida.
And then 2, the pizza thing. The 2 things that annoy me, and I know the first one's like meant with like good intentions, the thank you healthcare worker signs and the pizza party.
Horrible.
Because again, back to the money thing, I think nurses are more valuable than pizza. I think nurses are more valuable than signs. And that's why I emphasize the salary thing, because I think we get so taboo about talking about money in healthcare. And I think, again, that's intentional because the nursing salary hasn't moved in the past decade much, maybe a couple of dollars in some states. So those are the 2 big things. Pandemic, all they were doing was giving us pizza. No hazard pay. That was our pizza was our hazard pay. Thank you, healthcare worker sign, our hazard pay. So those
you know what it does, Rashida? The sign. So as a military wife, I feel like I can speak a little bit to this. We basically are doing our job. And when you say someone's a hero, it now makes them expendable. That's how it almost makes you feel. Oh, you're a hero. It's okay if some of you die because you don't have PPE.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
Like, here's a pretty sign.
That's a hard truth right there, Melissa. Come on, that's hard.
Get me was a sign
that's
after
hard.
What I've done for you, and I'm wearing PPE that I've kept in a paper bag for a month.
Right.
So Rollis, you and I talked about this on a previous show about I have issues with being called a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do remember that actually.
We all do.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe. When you are a nurse like myself and Melissa, I've got a whole lot more years than you. You really are looking for substance, right? I go to the job for the person that I'm going to be reporting to and what that leadership looks like, right?
Yes.
It's culture, behavior, attitudes. That's the most important thing. You can pay me $10,000 a week, but if you don't treat me well, that money means nothing.
Okay. No, this is good.
That's why I'm saying this balance between money. I can't afford to pay nurses more and I can't afford to treat them better. That doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't have to do both of them. There's a happy medium. So, I can run through the last 4 real quick and then
this is good. This is a good conversation. Give me number 2. Go ahead and give me number 2.
2. Okay. So 2 is movement, right? So we're moving, we're running at work, right?
Okay.
Who wants to move more? False. There's certain type of movements that are better for you. Also breathing. So I go into the break room to scream or cry or do whatever I need to do. What if I was in there, or text on my phone, let's be honest. So we go in there and there's a sign there and it says, okay, here's 3 stretches you can do. Well, what does stretching do? Who cares? I'm not going to stretch. Well, if you give them the science basis, nurses will do it. If you can prove to them there's something that will benefit them, you won't be sore tomorrow if you do a little bit of these stretches. And one of our collaborators, Jordan Bethany Fitness, she's a fitness coach that's a nurse, has created stretches just for the break room. And I would be happy to send anybody a PDF of them. They can hang them up and they can use them in the break room in combination with some of our really quick breath work techniques.
I love that.
The third thing is a space.
Wait, Melissa.
Go ahead.
Wait, Melissa. I want to help. I want to help give. This is some market testing, real live market testing. Rashida and Dr. Z, how does that fall on you? The part about the movement.
That is great. And I understand what Melissa says, because when I was in Houston, Texas, working COVID, like the height of COVID, and it was horrible, code after code after code, even my own patient, I would disappear to the bathroom for 5 to 10 minutes. Granted, yeah, I made sure it was a pee break too, but I would just take a couple of breaths, look at my cell phone. I'm not going to lie. I do, because we didn't really have a break room. The break room was this tiny little room that was called a hydration room. That's number 3,
Rashida. That's number 3, the room. I love it.
Okay. All right. Melissa, I just wish you could be more excited about this. Huh? Just kidding.
You know what I'm excited about? The potential. You guys, everybody on here listening to this has potential to change their organization.
I make light of it, but I love your energy. Okay. So let's go with number 3.
Can I just finish this thought, Rollis?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize you didn't finish your thought. Go ahead, please.
What that 5 minutes does is it gets my brain to calm down with all of the hubbub around me. Okay. So I calm down in that 5 minutes. I rejuvenate really quickly so that I can go back to continue. 5 minutes is all it takes.
There's neuroscience behind that. You're stopping the cortisol release and the adrenaline in the anterior cingulate of your cortex.
Yeah.
Nerd alert.
No, I love it. Okay. So before we go to 3, Rashida, did you want to chime in on this? Or you want to get to 3?
No, I like the stretching idea. I think it helps build a sense of community too if we're doing it together.
Okay,
so
I like that.
idea.
Love it. Okay, so go ahead for number 3. Just 3 only though. 3.
3 is a space. So I'm not talking about the break room. Okay. I'm not talking about this shove in a closet. Okay. I don't like that. All right. I'm talking about a space, and we can go as deep into the woo woo as you want with Cortex. We can grid it with crystals. So everybody's nice and zen if you want me to do that. But really it's a space where they can go and breathe. Even for 5 minutes, it's quiet. They might have plants in there to increase the oxygen. They can take off their mask. They can have a little moment just to be them. And I encourage no cell phones. We have a basket in there. Put your phone in the basket because you're just numbing yourself. And if you numb yourself from everything that you're doing, you can no longer progress to healing. We have to stop the moral distress. And that's what the room is for. And I like to call it a recharge room. You can use a closet, or sometimes places don't have big visitor rooms anymore. Yeah. So a lot of places are using an old visitor room. Perfect. And we can talk about little things. So I have a little PDF I'd be happy to send you on how to set up a beautiful recharge room.
And Melissa, I've worked at organizations in this country who have a room such like that.
Yes.
Right. In the Northern Virginia, DC area, I worked at 2 hospitals that had a very, very nice room with the recliner and the mood lighting. And
Inova is really innovative on that. So
no, this wasn't Inova. This was another one. Yeah. So anyway, and there was a basket for the cell phone.
That's awesome.
And by the way, it wasn't free. It wasn't freezing where you felt like you were in the Arctic Circle either, like it usually is in our break room and in the hydration room.
Yeah, essential oil diffuser. Oh, it's great.
So before we move to 4, Rashida, did you have a thought on 3?
I haven't experienced those kinds of rooms. We did have a meditation room on my unit. So my first travel assignment, I was going to take my break, and I was like, "Oh, where's your meditation room?" And they were like, "What kind of hospital did you work at?"
Right?
for things like insulin pens, and they didn't even have that. So why would they have meditation rooms?
Yeah.
But some floors did have them. I ended up finding them. Some floors did have them. But if there's a meditation room, I will find it.
Oh, by the
and
way,
making it close to where they're working. You can't walk all the way down to, just like the lactation room. Don't get me started. You have to like hunt around for it, make
Yeah.
it close, make it
Like,
accessible.
I found it, like, nurses that were on units that didn't have them, they thought they didn't even exist. But I made sure I found them.
okay, I have a random thought from earlier in the conversation. I apologize for being a little bit out of place here, but one of the things that I've talked to different clients about is that nurses don't go to these niche job boards as much anymore. They pretty much go with the big ones like Indeed, Glassdoor, because they have all the inventory, they have all the jobs. So why are they going to go to this little niche site that only has a few jobs that people posted? But I want to make sure I'm still relevant. Is that still true?
Yes.
Yeah. And like, honestly, if there's some way that we can bypass even that, like, I love the travel nurse, the way that travel nurse companies do it. Like, let me talk to a recruiter, see what works best for me. What am I looking for? Let me send you a resume. You can send it to them and see if it works.
Ooh, I like that.
Those applications really are so long. And sometimes you have to fill, like they said before, the same stuff that was on your resume, and that's so unnecessary. It's a waste of time.
Okay, I gotta give you this for that. That was awesome. Love that. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go to number 4. We're ready for 4. Go ahead, Melissa.
Okay, 4 is emotional support. I saw Barry put in there about having a coach or life coach. That is really important. Having something where the first step is, how they talk about leadership, like upper management and C-suite being present. Okay, well, that's great, but what are you doing while you're present? Are you coming over to the ICU and saying, how many patient interactions today could be an instance of moral distress? Because I need to talk about how many instances of possible moral distress we could be having in our facility this morning, and we need to address that. And then how do we get the chaplain involved? How do we get a coach involved? Who do we call? And we have a program where we train you guys how to do all this so your organization can be self-sufficient. And then you go out and you say, this is an instance of potential moral distress. How can I help you? We need to verbalize it so it doesn't become PTSD. We're assessing it there and we fix it there so that we can move through that experience together. So that emotional support is not just finding me a resource and saying, oh, you can go see 3 psych doctors for free for first 3 visits. No one's going to do that. I'm not going to pick up the phone or go on my day off. Who's going to watch my kids? I need it now and at the bedside. How can you stop the response at the bedside?
Yeah.
And then it's so easy. You can hire somebody. You could hire a psych student who's interested in doing extra work and dangle the carrot of research in front of them to be published or something and let them do it. I mean, there's so many ways.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so Rashida, what's your thought on this?
I think that's important too. They always just say, they have the employee support. Like, even when you lose a patient, they might say like, oh, they send an email like, if you need support, contact EAP. That's usually all you get.
Yep.
Like,
sorry that happened.
Great job. Whenever I had a day off and I would get an email saying, great job to these individuals. I'm like, whew, I'm glad I didn't work last night because I know it was crazy, because that's all you get, a great job.
Oh, okay, good. Okay,
yeah,
Dr. Z, what
programs out there.
What do you think?
Can I just add to that? Melissa brought up a very good point. PTSD, it's not just PTSD from COVID, but, many nurses were experiencing PTSD from working in toxic environments and being the target of bullying and the incivility and lateral violence. It goes on, and it's real.
Yes.
It is real.
I think what Rashida is saying is instances of moral distress becomes moral injury. PTSD is mainly like one particular event, and that does happen and then you're triggered every time you have to see that employee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it happens over and over and over again.
We actually have a show coming up. I think it's going to be in May, but it's about lateral violence and the just kind of the bullying that goes on in the work. So so we have a CNO who was actually there when they had the Las Vegas shootings. Remember when the guy was on the top of the
I like
thing?
her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she her name is Patty. Patty's going to be on the show that day, And I may actually try and get Dr. Hindell on there too, Diana Hindell. But we're going to have a show about that. Maybe I'll have one or two of you come on and join us as well if you want to talk about that. Because I know
I would love to, Rollis. I think you mentioned that to me already.
Yeah,
Dr. Z would be great.
Okay, so we did one.
I like you, Dr. Z.
Oh yeah, we all like Dr. Z.
Aww.
So 1 through 4 we did, right? We did 1 through 4. So now we need 5. Is that right?
5.
Okay, what's 5?
Let's talk about mental. I mean, let's not use the word mental health anymore because that's stigma. What about brain health?
Okay, I'll take that.
About brain health. How do we support the brain health of nurses? And one of the best things that we can do is actually breath work. So a little side note about why this works. And, Cortex, the reason we're called Cortex Energy System and not meditation for nurses is because how do I prove the woo-woo has a place in healthcare? Well, it's by basing it all in neuroscience. So the science behind the breath is that we teach heart rate variability and how breathing, like Rashida said, Dr. Z, when she was in the bathroom, she took some slow and controlled breaths. If you do that at a certain rate, that's called heart rate variability. And we can actually stop the stress response in the brain and all over the body. And you resupply energy and you resupply your nurses, and they're able to better do everything that is on their task list for the rest of the day. So you put a breathwork exercise over the Pyxis, because guess what? When you're signing into the Pyxis, you put your finger on there, you can't do anything, right? You can't do anything. But if you can stop for 3 seconds or 5 seconds, whatever it takes to read it, and take those slow and controlled breaths and not think about anything else going on, you literally reset your stress response. And then if you put that sign right above it, we call it the Breath RX, right? Because it's a medication. So we'd be happy to provide that for you as well.
That's awesome. I want to see what the audience has to say about that. Oh, look at that. They like it. That's awesome. Okay, great. So those are great. So we got 5 good tips, and Melissa's going to be back next week when I have a social media influencer. Her name is Alexis Nicole. She's going to be with me next week. Melissa's going to join me. And that's going to be really cool. So you're going to give us a few more of these, right? We're going to get a few more of these coming next week. Okay.
There's plenty of them.
So I have a quick question. We didn't ask any fun questions. Y'all were just on a roll today. I didn't get a chance to ask y'all any fun questions at all today. Okay. So we got to do this. Those in the comments, I want you to answer this question too. Okay. Everybody gets involved on this one. Okay. All right. Would you rather?
Oh no.
Yeah, Rollis and his would you rather.
Would you rather be known as the most passionate person in the world or the most generous?
Generous.
Oh. Generous or passionate, because you could be passionate about generosity.
Ooh, yeah. Look at you. Look, what? Okay, Rashida, why'd you pick?
Passionate for me.
Okay, but Rashida, you picked generous, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why'd you pick generous?
Because I want to make as big as an impact as possible. Have you ever seen that quote? It's like, when you make it to heaven, you want to tell God, I release everything that I had. Like I'm here empty. That's how I want to.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, you know what? You just remind me of something. I think it's Les Brown who used to say this: live full, die empty.
Yes.
It's like that movie from Disney Soul where they die when they meet their purpose. You guys, we're all on a purpose. And I feel like leaders in healthcare, you could choose to run Fortune 500 companies, but you don't. You have a degree of altruism. So don't give up. When I'm talking to the CEOs on the phone and they're like, are you hiring? I got to get out of here. I'm like, no, you're there for a reason. Like, let's fix it.
We got lots of comments on this too. Oh my goodness, this is great. All right. So, oh, by the way, Ken said one of my clients put together a meditation room with aromatherapy, massage chair, and soft music.
Yep. Yeah,
but exists. The problem is getting them to use it.
No, we have nurses that I know, when I was in Northern Virginia, that use those rooms. They went in there on their breaks, and it really made a difference.
So,
but if you have a staffing problem, right, and you can't get away, one of the things that you can do is a buddy system. So you have 2:00 buddy system comes around, and whether that person or not has taken a break, even if it's just 10 minutes, those buddies are assigned to relieve each other. And that works really well.
Girl, what planet are you living on? I've not seen that.
I know nobody does it, but you know what? I've implemented in every ICU that I've been in personally, making sure that I have a buddy, and it freaking works, and it will work.
Wow. So Dr.
No,
Lewis,
I'm not doubting it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that these are such simple,
free,
easy solutions, you know?
you guys are amazing. All right. So Dr. Lewis says, Lisa Lewis, to your point, Rashida, she's your friend, right? She's your mentor. That's right, your mentor.
Yeah.
She says, important panel, another one, please. So she really liked it. And Joanne says she'd rather be most generous. Barry says generous. Dr. Lewis says most passionate. So she's with you, Zia.
I agree with her. Most passionate. When you're passionate about something, it feeds other people feed off it. They see your enthusiasm, they see how you are, and they're just naturally attracted to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I will go with passionate every time. And Melissa says you can be passionate.
Okay, well, I love the variety though. I love the variety. All of you ladies are amazing. I thank you for what you guys do. I'm going to give you guys this right here because you deserve it. This one right here, because thank you. That's what you deserve right there. This is a great panel today. Look forward to next week.
Can I do one plug out there because I think this is important, Rollis.
Okay.
Has everybody seen that New York Times special, Death Through a Nurse's Eyes? It's about the COVID ICU.
No. We'll have Joanne look that up.
I've been scared to watch it.
Can you put it on the website?
Please, I'll put it on. It's on the website because I called the nurse manager in tears after I read it. I just picked up the phone and I said, I want to give you my program. She said, well, we're a small community hospital. I don't know that I could afford it. And then my business partner is in the dental industry. And she's like, the dentists that I know saw it and want to do something. So we're currently raising money to provide the whole program to them in person, to give them this beautiful gift for kind of telling their story and being brave enough to tell the story of all of us. And the New York Times is going to follow up and show that all of these techniques work and how they heal the nurses. So anybody who's interested in getting involved with that, we'd love your support.
I would love to. Can you message me that link? And then I'll be in touch with you.
So Barry says he gave nursing units $1,000 to customize their lounge break room. Unit practice council drove the changes, and we ended up
excellent,
with some
Barry.
Unique, and fantastic.
Where does Barry
rooms.
work? Maybe we should all go work
Barry,
there.
we have a website where we highlight facilities that are doing things right. I would love to put you on our list for nurses to want to work there.
That's awesome. Yeah, we appreciate that. So, I want to shed a light on a person who she comes to so many of our sessions like this. She's an HR person, and she wants to learn more, even about this that's not directly with HR, like this one right here about attraction and retention of nurses. She's has been coming, and there's I've seen few other HR folks that have been on to these types of shows. So I just want to give her an applause for taking such an active interest. This is for Carrie Ann. Thank you for what you're doing, because it's people like you who are going to make a difference in the HR side of things, right? Because she's seeing this, she's going to expose these ideas, she may share it. So thank you for doing that. And any other folks who are watching the replay, if you're at HR, throw your hands up that you're here. Just say hi. Let us know. So it helps us feel good that this is content you're also taking in, because if HR teams.
Nursing needs the support of HR. Anything that we do, HR is essential in getting some of these programs and strategies, and processes into a system, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. We're going to say bye to them. I want you guys to stay on for a second. So bye everyone. Thank you for watching today.
Bye.
See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you guys. By the way, folks are watching. Next week will be on Wednesday and Thursday for we have 2 roundtables next week. The Wednesday one.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going to be exciting. We got a HR panel on Thursday, HR leaders, and then Wednesday we have the bedside nurses and nurses on Wednesday. So look forward to that next week. Thank you guys for watching, and let me just make sure we're okay to hit the stop button here. I'm trying a new thing today. We actually did something different. I went straight to Restream today instead of actually going through another program I used to go through. So
did you?
Yeah, 1 second here. Thank you guys for watching.
StreamYard. Dr. Z, we need to chat because I need to get
I did respond to you, girlfriend, and you did not. You didn't answer me back. Yeah.
I'll have to look back through or send me another. I'll message you because we need to chat. You too, Rashida, because
yeah, one second here.
we're starting a whole new Nurses Transforming Healthcare group.
Awesome.